Hi everyone. I hope you're having a really wonderful day. I'm gonna keep this nice and short. This is the second time I've started recording this video because like 10 seconds into recording this originally, I forgot what I want to talk about. Like 0% memory of what I was gonna say. It's amazing. It just made me think about how much information we consume and how it affects our brain power. It's amazing. Anyway, now I remembered what it is. So, very brief today. I wanted to talk about the self-development trap. It's something that I bring up quite a lot with my own clients because it happens like pretty consistently, I would say, in 99% of my sessions or with each client that I work, it will happen. And it's something that comes up when we start to work on ourselves. And I know a lot of you that are watching this are not new to self-development. In one way or another, you are working on yourself, actively, reading books and watching, documentaries about self-help or podcasts. I mean, as I said, there's so much. There's courses, there's, working with a coach, working with a therapist, working with, a mentor, whatever. There's so much out there, and I know a lot of you are doing it. And I believe a lot of self-development work also happens in the background. So when we go through different experiences in our lives, different challenges, and we give ourselves the space to process that, to come to terms with it, to reflect and contemplate on the lessons learned, that is self-development work. Whether that's done with someone's support or not, it doesn't matter, as long as we're conscious of doing the process, of going through the process. The trap, the self-development trap that I want to talk about is something that happens a few times along the way. And I'm of the belief that actually personal development or self-development growth, however you want to call it, doesn't actually stop. We always should be learning. Otherwise, what's the point? You don't want to be the same person, in a year's time as you are today, even if you're extremely grateful or, for all the things that are the physical things that you have in your life and the people, but who you are as a person, I personally want to grow all the time. But the problem with that approach, the problem with doing work all the time on ourselves, is that it feels as if we always have to be further along. So I find this happens especially when we start to look at the ego and that negative voice in our minds that criticizes and judges us, both internally, but also places a judgment filter in our whole, in our outlook, life outlook. So when we start to look at that and understand and observe the voice, although that's very empowering and we have now the awareness of what's going on, we have a full picture, afterwards, after that step, what happens is that there's another layer to that. So the ego comes in with a different change of clothes, and says, oh, but now you're not supposed to have this voice anymore. Now that you've seen it, you're supposed to, to make it go away. So every time we then get an ego thought, or every time we notice resistance, or we sabotage ourselves, or we go into the same kind of rabbit hole or pattern that we are aware of, we then feel guilty. We then feel shame about it. And that is because we are aware of it. So although awareness is power and awareness is key in any behavior changing process, and mindset shift, obviously, there is a trap inherent in the process. And the thing to be mindful of is that trap is believing that second voice that comes in and says, oh, you should have dealt with that. why is this coming back? And, you know, it means that you haven't done this properly. And this is another, it's just the ego in another change of clothes, as I said before. It's the same voice, just trying to get in from a different side. And really our job there is to maintain that awareness, to maintain that responsibility over our own way of thinking and how we respond and how we perceive the things that come into our awareness, and soften the criticism. So when you catch that thought, it's the same type of process as what you've been doing. When you catch yourself going into that rabbit hole, you know, realizing that, okay, I have awareness, I know how this is going to go. I can either choose to take that path, which I've taken a million times and I know where it's going to end, or at any point during this process, I can sidestep and choose another thought, choose another behavior, or continue down that path and maintain my awareness, and that does not take away the progress that I've made throughout this process. So the trap becomes a problem, you know, falling into the trap happens when we allow the ego, you know, the new outfit that it has to trick us, really. For us to think that, you know, clients come to me and say, oh, but I'm actually like back to square one because, you know, on the weekend I felt really bad and I had all these negative thoughts and I just couldn't get myself out of it, so I just haven't progressed at all. And to me, first of all, noticing and realizing that all this mind chatter is that, it's a mind chatter. It doesn't reflect the truth. Is extremely, it's the most important thing. And by naming it, you create distance. You create that precious space, which might feel tiny at the beginning, but with time becomes bigger and bigger. And it's within that distance that we then have control. We can then go into that space where you don't identify with that mind chatter, where you recognize that the mind chatter is not the true part of you, is not the mind chatter doesn't have to have the power. So within that distance, you have the space to start to make changes, to start to very slowly, very, you know, with a lot of compassion, very gradually, start to take different action, start to slowly shift into a more helpful and empowering state of being and way of thinking. So I'll leave it here, not as short as I would have originally wanted. I can't wait for my videos to end up being 5 minutes. And I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you've got any thoughts, let me know if you have any questions, and I'm gonna see you very soon. Bye!